We will be doing a book review on a book that has just come out today. It is Humble Leadership, The Power of Relationship, Openness, and Trust by Edgar&PeterSchein. For more videos like this, please click on the red subscribe button below and feel free to reach out to me at kimjbarker@gmail.com with questions or comments. Do leaders create cultures, or do cultures create leaders? This book states that as socialized humans, which we all are, right? We cannot step outside of our culture, but we can understand our culture and see how leadership as a relational activity is both shaped by and shapes culture. It also examines where leadership needs to develop to stay relevant in relation to the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental world today, or PESTLE for you marketing majors. This book shares Ed and Peter Schein's vision of humble leadership and the relationship theory that serves as its foundation. They share stories that give the reader an insight into what humble leadership is and what it is not. Then they discuss trends that they see reinforcing here and now humility, personalization, or the personal relational emphasis, group sense-making, and team learning, all key components of humble leadership. The book ends with a superb list of further reading, self-analysis, and skill building to enhance your own humble leadership proficiency. The Scheins share why we need a new leadership model. The reasons include, first, task complexity is increasing exponentially. Organizations are dealing with an increasing rate of change. The degree of global interconnectedness, multiculturalism, and the pace of technological advances. Teamwork, collaboration, and relationships will be required to help organizations create the open, socio-technical system with constantly changing social and business contexts that need a spirit of inquiry approach. Second, the current managerial culture is myopic and has blind spots and is often self-defeating. Gone are the competitive, individualistic cultures with a mythical leader and the machine model of hierarchical organization design. Adaptive and connected cultures of teamwork are now required to thrive in today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, or VUCA, world. Third, there are generational changes in social and work values. Today, there is more talk of social responsibility and becoming stewards of our environment and planet. The idea of servant leadership captures this well. There is growing emphasis of work being meaningful, purpose-based, with employees using their full range of talents at work, not just being there for money, bonuses, and things. One of the things that spoke to me initially in the book is that the days of the transactional leader are gone. Today's world needs personal, relationship-based leadership. The bad news is that we still have those that are leading transactionally. This is evidenced by various issues, including corruption and abuse of power, quality and safety issues, and disengaged talent. Many times, the problem boils down to egos out of control. Do you agree? The Scheins even take the time to define what a relationship is. A relationship is, by definition, an interactive concept. For a relationship to exist, there must be some symmetry and mutual expectation. The authors share relationship continuums that explain different levels of culturally defined relationships. These levels are level -1, total impersonal domination and coercion. Level 1, transactional role and rule-based supervision, service, and all forms of helping relationships. Level 2, personal, cooperative, trusting relationships, as in friendships and in effective teams. And Level 3, emotionally intimate, total mutual commitments. We conduct much of our lives at the Level 1 relationship. For example, relationships such as doctor-patient, lawyer-client, sales or service encounters. A Level 2 relationship moves from a role relationship to a relationship where both parties are seen as a whole person with whom a personal relationship around shared goals and experiences can be developed. Amy Edmondson's work on teaming says that one of the best ways to get to know each other is to learn together. This allows for direct feedback and suggestions to be able to take place. This does not mean that colleagues need to become friends, but that they see each other as a whole person in context of getting the job done. It is not about being nice, but each person acknowledging psychological safety, that they are open to bidirectional communication, building trust, and thereby accomplishing the task faster, if not better. Level 3 is a deepening of the relationship that goes beyond the Level 2 connection. It is more emotionally charged and implies that all of the trust and openness of Level 2. In addition, Level 3 assumes that we will actively support each other as needed and actively display emotional and loving behavior towards each other. This distinction between Level 2 and 3 can be a little tricky. While there are still boundaries, there is a level of extraordinary cooperation and almost a sense of super empathy. I have experienced a Level 3 work relationship twice in my career, and they were very special. The authors provide many examples to give us a better idea of what the new level of leadership entails. These include Ken Olsen, the co-founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, personalizing hierarchical relationships. How a surgeon of a large urban children's hospital builds trust and openness, and how an organization honors safety over productivity. With humble leadership, the concept of human resources needs to change from the values, assumptions, quality, safety, and employee engagement problems we see today to a new model of humble leadership, which is built on the Level 2 relationships of openness and trust. People are not a resource, they are a source. Having recently visited Singapore and being so impressed with what I saw of the country, and of Malaysia too, I was very excited to read Chapter 3, Humble Leadership and Governance, the Singapore Story. I have also just read Ed Schein's book, Strategic Pragmatism, which is a detailed account of a case of organizational and cultural dynamics that illustrate the unique aspects of Singapore's economic development. Singapore's success has been and is world-renowned, and their economy continues to thrive today. Philip Yao and Ed Schein established a relationship a number of years earlier, and Ed had the ability to observe Philip as a driven, entrepreneurial, fast-moving executive who was clearly able to personalize and therefore quickly establish Level 2 relationships with executives in his management team. When a member of Yao's management team was interviewed, they described themselves as mad cows for making a difference and changing our world. They described Yao's leadership style as kite-flying leadership. They said, to get the best out of people, don't be paternalistic. You have to treat them like kites. You get them up in the air, and if there's no wind, you try again. Everybody needs a liftoff. If they get into trouble, you reel them in. He goes on to say that Yao detested micromanagement. He let the kites fly. Humble leadership empowered Singapore's heads of state to transform the country's economic development. Here are some lessons learned from the Chapter 3 of Humble Leadership. The main leaders of Singapore created a cooperative group that had open, trusting relationships with each other. They created a long-range plan of developing the best talent in the country by creating careers that were comparable with what those alumni could have achieved in the elite private sector positions. Open and trusting relationships were valued at every level of the governance structure and its political, economic, and social structures. The short-term use of arbitrary power and governance can be justified if it is to solve a serious socio-technical survival problem. A culture built around humble leadership is inevitably subjected to various challenges as the organization grows, ages, and scales. Leaders need to be wary of the eroding forces of protecting people and conventions rather than protecting the Level 2 openness that catalyzes continuous adaptation. So many examples from my own life came up as I read this book. I had a senior director and a director at a major medical center where I worked who were totally invested in growing their employees and helping them fly. Whenever I saw either of them, they would ask how I was, how the family was, and then maybe even ask more specific questions about my family. Before I knew it, we would be having an exchange about business and the organization, and they would be asking my ideas about these. Both men had hundreds, if not thousands, of employees that worked for them. The fact that they knew names of my family members was an incredible feat in and of itself. Both men made a significant difference in the operations and support services area of the hospital and had staff that felt heard and encouraged to make things better. Their employee engagement scores reflected this. The book addresses how many military, industry, nonprofits, and healthcare teams have created a culture of humble leadership to have high-performing teams. A quote from a leader named Dave really stood out to me. He said, "You set the standards and then discourage behavior that doesn't meet the standard. If people still don't live up to that standard after being counseled a set number of times, my words, you weed them out, remembering that no matter what managers write or say, they demonstrate their true intent by what they reward and tolerate. You get what you settle for." Some of the nuggets of wisdom contained in this book include: future leadership can fend off disruption with an adaptive, inclusive, organic organizational design. Humble leadership requires reinforcing the soft stuff. Focus on group processes and experiential learning. The importance of checking in with stakeholders at all levels, asking people to share from the heart on why they have invested in an organization can lead to creating a strategy and level of a commitment with some incredible, unanticipated outcomes. Bonding time, even with food and beverage or breaking bread, can nurture a team and create a stronger bond. This is not time wasted. The essence of humble leadership is maintaining acute focus on interpersonal and group dynamics. We need humble leadership in this world now more than ever. We want to create a world where every person can thrive, no matter his or her status, position, or title. This book will help the reader move in that direction with your team. I humbly ask you to go to the link below and order Humble Leadership, one for yourself and several copies for those in your organization. I will place the link to order the book below. You can also read about the Schein's work in the Organizational Culture and Leadership Institute at www.schein.org. Lastly, you can sign up for the webinar with Ed and Peter Schein on September 13th of this year by going to www.isodc.org. That's isodc.org, and looking under upcoming events. Both Ed and Peter will be talking more about the book during the webinar and answering any questions you may have. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel now. Bye.